Hi everyone, here we are with another video here, and this time we're going to talk about using the table function on your calculator. This is one of the things I really love about the TI-83s and 84s and 89s, which we won't use in this course, that I really thought personally the Inspire does very poorly. Let's look at how we do this with the TI-84. There's going to be two videos. This one is going to be focusing on using the table one way, and then the next video will be using the table in the way I prefer to use it. So let's look at this problem here. We want to find the values of y equals 4 plus 4x minus x squared for all even integers in the interval -2 to 6. So if we make a table here, we're going to have values of x and values of y, so we just want all the even ones, so -2, 0, 2, 4, and 6. I was going to do all the integers, but then I realized that, well, there's a lot of them and I don't want to write that much. So let's move over to the calculator now and see how we can do this. So we want to enter our equation 4 plus 4x minus x squared, and let's double check to make sure I did not misremember that, because it is very likely that I have, and I have not, so that is good. Hit enter, and we can graph this, but I don't really care about the graph, so did I forget to check that before? Yes, I did. So the first thing you want to do on here is make sure, so what I did, let's do this again. So we were on this screen, we were on this screen, and I hit second and then this window button, and notice that in blue above window it says table set. So this sets up our table. And so there's two things. So if you've never used your calculator before, we have these two options, independent and dependent. They should be both set to auto if you've never used this calculator before. If they're not set to auto, come down here. So for example, mine was set like this. You can just move the arrow over and hit enter, and that will move the cursor over to auto. Now we want to look at these first two options, table start and delta table. Table start is where the first value of x we're going to use in our table. So in this case, since we're working on the interval from -2 to 6, we will want to enter -2. And again, remember to use the negative button below the 3, or you will get an error. So let's actually do that and see what kind of error you get. -2, and notice that you get a syntax error. So make sure you use the correct negative sign. Now, delta table. Delta table means that this is the value it's going to add each time. So for example, table start makes the table start at 2, and table 1 means that we're going to add 1 to -2, and the next entry in the table is going to be -1. So this is going to give me all the integers, which I said before I don't. So we want only the even ones, we're going to enter this 2. So the first entry will be -2, the next one will jump up by 2 and give me 0, the next entry will be 2, and the next entry will be 4 and 6. Now to see the table, you go to second table, and notice here we get a table of values. So notice that here are the inputs. So we started with -2 and went to 0, to 2, to 4, to 6, and those are the range of the values. And these are the corresponding y values. So when we plug in -2 into our quadratic, we'll get a -8 for y. When we plug in 0, we'll get a 4, which makes sense because the constant term is 4. We plug in a 2, we'll get a +8. We plug in a 4, we'll get a +4 back, and when we plug in a 6, we'll get a -8. If we graph this, just to see what it looks like, and that's what our function looks like right here. So we were looking for these values on the table, so let's enter them in. So we have -8, 4, 8, 4, -8. Now, if we wanted to see every integer, we can go back to second table set and set this to 1. And regraph this, and now notice we get every integer: -2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Also notice that at the bottom it gives you the value as well, x equals and y equals, and this is important when you get like long decimals. In the window on the upper part it'll only show usually 3 to 5 decimal places, but down below it'll actually show the full decimal expansion. Also, if you want to see a value outside this range, this will scroll up and down. So if I wanted to see what -3 was, I go over here to the X column and push up. And notice that -3 will give me a -17, -4 will give me a -28, and I can push in the other direction as well. So you're not limited to the range of values that by default come up on the screen. And that's all I'm going to show you with this video here. The next video is going to be talking about what happens when you need to plug in a bunch of values, but they're not all the same distance apart from each other. So, see you then.